I was trying to decide, do I want? No, I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah. So
nothing on the table.
you are not a pastor, technically speaking. Then.
Not technically speaking.
So
but I serve in a lot of pastoral role. Yeah.
Right. What drew you towards that psychology, counseling mindset? Is there something that like one instance, or has that been just kind of you fell into it?
Because that's what you went to school for, correct?
Eventually.
At where? At Milligan University in Tennessee, correct?
How did you know that?
Lucky guess.
So I went to college at Milligan in Tennessee, and I got my degree actually in administration with a minor in social work. Mm-hmm. And so right out of college, it's kind of crazy to think that I was 22 and I was hired as a case manager for Department of Child Services. So I was investigating abuse and neglect, had no clue what I was getting into. But
wow.
That was my first job, and did that for a few years, just learned a lot about that whole world. And then I became a probation officer, and I worked as a probation officer for probably 11 or 12 years here in Bartholomew County.
And then you got a speeding ticket?
I got a lot of speeding tickets in my life. Yes, Tristan. What'd you find in your searching? You actually did a record check or something?
We like to run background checks on our guests. We got to make sure that we don't get canceled someday.
Yeah, so it was kind of a... Okay. And you have me still come?
It was actually, I don't know if you recall, it was actually, it was a sermon that you shared a story, but...
While I was at probation, there was many times I got pulled over, but probation and police know each other, so usually just like, hey, just slow down. And
I knew we had something in common.
Yeah.
There you go. Speeding or probation?
Speeding. Speeding, we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Maybe you need to start doing background checks on the podcast you go on.
So while I was at probation, we would refer a lot of people to therapy. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking I could do that, and it might be just a different way to really help people. I love being a probation officer, though. Mm-hmm. So then I went to school, and then just a couple weeks after I graduated with my master's degree, then I was hired as the director of a residential treatment center for girls, and then went from there to the position at the church.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I was in my 30s when I went back to grad school.
Yeah. Did you have connections at the church? That's what drew you there, or was it just?
Our family started attending there in 2000.
Okay.
So I was hired 4 years later.
Okay.
They approached me. There wasn't really an opening. They approached me about the position, and I said,
yeah.
It took me a while to decide because I really loved what I was doing already.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the similarities, overlap, or is it completely different between the probation officer and then switching over to this counseling and I don't know. I don't know if it's more voluntary, but I don't know what is that like? What is the difference?
So, probation officer, basically, the role is people are arrested, they're in trouble with the law, they're ordered by the court. Basically, stay out of trouble, and after your probationary time, whether it be 1 year or 6 years or whatever you've done, then you're closed and you're not under supervision anymore. So the probation officer makes sure they are compliant with what was ordered, such as restitution or no contact orders or whatever. But also, sometimes therapy is ordered.
Okay.
And so most people going to counseling on probation are court ordered.
Okay.
And I think sometimes that works well. It actually, people just need a push. Sometimes it doesn't. They're just checking it off. Now, the model with probation now, I understand, is not so much they don't court order people to counseling anymore. They offer it. So moving from that into what I do now, very few court orders. We do see people that maybe are court ordered because probation will refer people to us.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But it's mostly voluntary.
Yeah, that's why I was curious how much
that alone
overlaps.
Is a huge plus because people are already starting with some kind of investment. Now, they might be trying to appease their wife or their parent or their employer, but usually there's more buy-in up front. So that makes it really helpful that to pour in motivation into them is not as hard because they already have some motivation because they made that first contact.
Right. Yeah.
That's
Less of a you must be here to be able to enter real life again.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Gosh, I'm sure that you have some stories.
From probation.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It was